Again, welcome to the media briefing from the Office of the President. As usual, whenever we are able to put together anything substantial that we think we can share with you, we will do. For this briefing, first of all, we would like to establish that the Office of the President is reinforcing its monitoring and coordination role through the Department of Strategic Planning and Delivery. As part of those rules, the structures and the operating procedures of project coordination units of the different ministries are being reviewed in order to standardize them and ensure that it is in compliance with the NDP, that is the National Development Plan. This also includes critical analysis of all the grants and loans to better coordinate the implementation strategies that would yield better results for the citizens. Policy dialogue will be conducted in the restructuring of the state-owned enterprises. The Gambia Public Procurement Agency will also be engaged to address gaps and weaknesses in procurement procedures and standardize in order to establish proper and effective enforcement of the procurement laws. In a proactive engagement, the Department of Strategic Policy Delivery at the Office of the President has successfully coordinated dialogue with the staff and management of the UTG, that's the University of the Gambia. They came up with a 15-point action plan on the concerns of the stakeholders, varying from administrative and human resource, staff motivation and work condition, the lack of communication on management decisions. The timelines of the action points will be immediate, and others that are outside the mandate of the management will be extended to 2020-2021 academic year. It was also reported that the manifested maturity during the dialogue and the best interest of the UTG stakeholders was their focus. The dialogue has resulted to averting an earlier decision for the UTG faculty and staff association to go on strike at the beginning of the academic year, which would have disrupted lessons. Rationalizing vehicle maintenance and management cost is being pursued at the OP in line with the government vehicle policy. In this context, the state institutions in possession of V8 vehicles have been informed to return those vehicles to the vehicle controller at the Office of the President with immediate effect. In response, some have already been returned, and the outstanding ones are being pursued. Also, a new vehicle policy is being developed to ensure efficiency in vehicle management. Following His Excellency President Adama Barrow's launching of the National Security Policy in June this year, the security sector reform is progressing, with all the different agents developing their internal policies and standard operating procedures. Some have also developed code of conduct on disciplinary measures to address officers who go outside their mandates. Monitoring and coordination of 4 presidential priorities in line with the NDP is ongoing to provide proper brief on the deliveries. These are rural water supply, provision of labor-saving devices to support strategies for food security and value addition, rural electrification, and feeder road constructions. These community development projects are aimed at improving the socio-economic and livelihood of the people and ensure social inclusion. During the monitoring of progress of work on the road construction in the URR, it was discovered that work has been delayed due to the location of the Gamtel fiber optic cables and the NAWEC water pipes. To unblock the challenges, different agencies have been invited to discuss the relocation of their said items. so as to allow the work to progress. UNDP Electoral Needs Assessment Mission met with the Presidential Strategy Policy Delivery Department to consult on the electoral processes as well as ensure coordination in the implementation. The aim is to have a master plan that will take into cognizance the timelines and compatibility of the electoral laws to the new constitution being developed, submission of the CRC report, other processes such as cabinet review of the CRC report when it is submitted, the input of the National Assembly and other related institutions, the registration of voters, and the referendum on the new constitution. These processes will go parallel to the review of the institutional arrangements for national identification documents, awareness raising, capacity building, and electoral staff to promote civil rights in a society that respects the laws and the national constitution. All is to ensure better coordination of the parallel activities being undertaken. Consultations with stakeholders in the relevant government ministries and civil society are ongoing to review the United States report on human trafficking in the Gambia. President Barrow's 3 days visit to the state of Qatar has resulted to signing of agreements and memoranda of understanding in various areas, including customs, satellite networks regulation, public prosecution, legal fields, and in the field of youth and sports. As the procedures will have it, the details of the arrangements would be presented to the National Assembly by the relevant ministries. Aside from the signed documents, the President was informed of the outcome of a bilateral meeting between the Minister of Information and Communication of the Gambia and the Qatar Media Corporation. The Qatar government, in support of the Gambia to bid to host the 2022 OIC Summit, has purchased state-of-the-art broadcasting equipment worth $24 million for the Gambia radio and television services of the national, and the staff of the national broadcaster will also benefit from training and capacity building to effectively operate the equipment donated by the Qatari government. The public is informed that His Excellency President Adama Barrow supports the government white paper on the concerns and recommendations of the Janneh Commission report. Regarding the resignation of some of the staff at the OIC local secretariat, their appointments were contractual, and in any contractual agreement, any one of the parties can decide to leave at any time once a written notice is provided. The board will decide on filling the vacancies that are available. On the diplomatic passport saga, President Barrow is aware and has assigned a full investigation into the matter, which is already ongoing. To encourage young people in the area of sports, the President met with the participants of the 12th African Games in Morocco and officials of the Ministry of Youth and Sports to congratulate them, following up on the cabinet decision to award the gold medalists and the other members of the team. President Barrow presented 11 title deeds of the landed properties to each of the volleyball and athletes, gold winners, and pledged $50,000 to other sports persons who were part of the teams. His Excellency will address the National Assembly tomorrow at 10 a.m. as part of the annual national address to the National Assembly, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much, and this is what I have. If there are issues that we need to discuss, we can go ahead. Just as usual, your name and the media house you represent. And if you can focus the questions on the issues we have been discussing or issues related directly to the presidency.
Commission report. When the commission was presented to the president on the 29th of March 2019, the president vowed to implement the full recommendation of the commission. And we have seen that, the recommendations, some of the recommendations that were made by the commission was that, the chief of protocol and the minister of finance should be dismissed. So, and we have seen that, the government white paper have cleared, them. So could we explain as to why that happened?
Thank you very much. Regarding that, as it is the Ministry of Justice that gives legal advice, and they start at cabinet and to discuss each of the recommendations that were presented to the cabinet, and that is how they came out with the white paper. So white paper represents the decision that has been taken after discussions were held at the cabinet level. So that will be the decision that has been taken.
Thank you very much. My name is Alijo. I am from Kirfatu. My question is about the diplomatic pass saga. Regarding the leakage of the diplomatic pass, we have seen 3 members of BYM having the passport, and they are identified as business executives. Isn't the president worried about the fact that his office is calling people that are ordinary citizens business executives, meaning creating an image for these people that do not exist, thereby committing a fraud?
Right now, the issue of the passport saga, as we have said, is already under investigation. And when they come out with their investigation, then whatever decision has been taken is what we can discuss. But right now, I cannot discuss anything on speculation on issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Diva, for a newspaper. You made mention that there is a vehicle policy that is being developed, that is ongoing. So my question is, what are the issues that are to be incorporated into these vehicle policies, the new vehicle policies that you have just mentioned?
Because I said it is being developed, that means it's not final. So we cannot tell you what are the issues that they are going to consider. But right now, the decision that has been taken and that I have been informed about is that all the government institutions, agencies that have V8 vehicles should return them to the Office of the President at the Controller of Transport.
Good morning. My name is Fatu Samba. I work with Gambian Talents TV. With all the money we have had about the Janneh Commission, it is quite obvious that former President Yahya Jammeh ripped of the country in broad daylight, as we all heard from the Commission. One thing is certain, he did not do all this by himself. He was aided and abetted by Gambians and a good number who are still in the system, working with the Barrow government. My question is, what is your reaction to people who believe that these people helped Yahya Jammeh and now want to help Adama Barrow? And the other one is, what is the fate of these people who enable Yahya Jammeh to take this money from Gambians and still work with the Barrow system?
You want my opinion? I'm not here to share my opinion on you, on issues that are of national issues that are being taken into a process. Number one, already it has gone through a vigorous process. The Commission has done its finding. It has gone to the Cabinet. Cabinet has come out with a white paper. The process as to how things would unfold is beyond me, and all we need to do is to wait for the decisions that are being taken and how they are going to be pursued. The rest I cannot respond to.
Good morning. My name is Dada Chan. I'm from Star TV. Well, my question is about the OIC hosting 2021.
2022.
Yeah, sorry, 2022. We didn't meet the deadline to be able to host it this year. So shifting it to the next year, meaning to prepare for the hosting. And now we can see there are so many things happening in the office, like resignation. Will that interfere to meet the date or when exactly the summit is to be hosted in the Gambia?
From what I know, it doesn't, because these are people who have been employed to do a service. And once they are not there, other people will be employed to continue from wherever they stop. And that is what institutions are all about. It's not about the individuals, but the institutional memory, and to ensure that we have a system in place that people can continue from one stage to the next.
Africa TV. Why is the president not going to attend the UN General Assembly?
It is up to the president to decide which meetings he attends and not. And also he has his reasons for or whether he can go to the meeting at this point in time or not. That is up to him, and he has decided, and the Vice President, Her Excellency, will represent represent the President along with the delegation of technicians who will be on the way.
Thank you very much, Amie Sissoho from QTV. My first question has to do with the resignation at the OIC. We understand almost 4 have now resigned. Do you have any idea as to why they have to resign at this crucial time as far as the preparation for the OIC is concerned? And on the issue of the DP saga, the Justice Minister, was said to have it into the office of the President, and under the Constitution, it's only the President who can give the approval for DP to be issued in the Gambia. Was he disappointed that his approval was widely condemned by so many Gambians that the family of the Justice Minister will be given the pass?
On the first one, the resignations at the OIC, as I told you, if a contract is between 2 people, any one of them can decide for whatever reasons they have, but to decide to leave, and all they need to do is to give the notification. Whether the President is disappointed that there is outcry about the decision he took to approve a request from the Minister of Justice is something I cannot tell, because we have not discussed whether he is disappointed or not about the approval, but it was from out of his own judgment, based on the request that was made, that he took that decision.
My question is about the Jani Commission, about Alhaji Usman Sise. He's been indicted at equal level with Momodou Sabally, Jogoba, and others, and yet Usman is shielded and protected from punishment when the Jani Commission have found him to be criminally liable for theft of millions of dollars. Yet he's shielded while Sabally and others are being charged. Is the President in support of selective justice? And the other question is, when the Banjul project was awarded, what we have been told was the Cabinet awarded the project. Is there any specific information you can share with the people that the Cabinet relied on to award the project?
I'm not here to tell you what Cabinet relies on, because Cabinet decisions are taken based on information presented at Cabinet. So I'm not in a position to tell you what are those information that were presented for them to come to that decision. That is beyond me. Regarding Mr. Sise, as I said, the issues of the decisions as to what happens to who, as far as the Jani Commission is concerned, went to Cabinet. And Cabinet came out with a decision, and that decision is in the white paper, which is available. Maybe you can go through to find out what their decisions were and why they took those decisions. Thank you. Anything else beyond? If it relates to Jani Commission and others, I would like us to leave that to the Ministry of Justice to go into details of why they came to those decisions.
My name is Amie Bojang Sissoho. I just wonder more details about, you mentioned about the progress made by the security sector reform. I just want more details, probably how long has it gone, how long, I mean, how soon can we expect it, because it's one of the priority areas of the Barrow government.
Regarding the security sector reform, it's a process. It's not a one-off thing that you say, okay, this is it, that's security sector reform. No, it's a process. If you recall, they started with an audit, and the audit told them the situation. That's when they realized there were ghost workers and all these abnormalities in the security sector. And then they say, okay, what do we do next? Do we have a policy that guides how the security sector operates? They say there is no policy. They say develop the policy. After the policy, they say, okay, develop the strategy. And then each of the units, agents under the main security sector operators, whether it's for the internal security or defense, all looked at their own sectors and what are the issues that they need to address. And some of them have informed us that they've gone far to even having a code of conduct, because it is not a hidden perspective that people have been accusing of institutions of corruption and things like that. So internally, some of them have already taken their own strategy as to how do we avert some of these things, how do we provide opportunity for the public who has information can go to this institution and tell them, you know what, this is what we have found. And then the code of conduct will be there to guide them with the way they will operate and regarding the addressing some of those issues. This is what I have been informed.
From the Party Network. there are some people who claim President Barrow's popularity is falling, and they are blaming his communication team. How popular is President Adama Barrow, and how competent is his communication team?
First of all, with regards to how popular he is, can only be done with a survey. And the last time we had a survey by the Barrow, Afro Barrow, I think the figure is out there. He was highly rated high in terms of how people perceive him. With regard to his communication team, for us as professionals who are working as communication officers in the office of the president, the first thing we look out for, what are the facts we have? Do we have enough information to go out to the public? Why do I have to call all these media houses just to come and stand here and not give them any information? So for us, we only communicate when we have relevant and factual information that we need to communicate to the masses to, then they will share it. And maybe it depends on how you see communication, because almost every day from the office of the president, you either have a press release or you have a social media post indicating what is going on here. And that is different from the other efforts we are putting together. Every 6 months, we try to produce a 6-month newsletter to give an overview and a historic context of what is happening so that people will have access to this information. Apart from that, we are trying to do interviews as much as possible. We reach out to the local radios whenever they call us, or when we feel that we have something to share with them, we go out. As far as I'm concerned, as head of that communication unit, what I will not involve in is speculation and rumors that are not fact-based for me to come and start defending things that I would consider irrelevant at that point in time. Secondly, I will not go into issues like when people have information on an issue that is in a process and that process have not reached my office, because my office comes in when a final decision is taken on an issue to inform me this is the decision, and then I will be able to communicate that to the public. So it depends on who sees how effective our communication is and how it is not. But as far as we are concerned, we are putting in all our efforts. Even the fact that we want all these media houses to be coming here to listen to what we have to give them is a way of reaching out. So it depends on how you see it, but from our own perspective, we have been doing a lot to ensure that there's visibility, the voices of the president on issues are heard, and when they are relevant and important, he comes out to say them. Thank you.
Okay. Just recently, a delegation left to Sierra Leone in line with the security reform. Why Sierra Leone? What was the root of it? Is it from the visit the president had here, like recently, to open doors for Gambia to learn from the security reform of Sierra Leone?
I'm not in a position to answer that because I've not been given any report about that visit yet. I've not had any information. All I read was what you have in the newspapers, so I cannot tell you that this is the reason why they went there.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I am Marba. I work for the Standard newspaper. My first question will relate to the Anti-Corruption Commission. Of course, that the president had promised to establish since he was sworn in 2017. Despite all what happened over the past few months, one would have thought that would have been part of the agenda. How far have the government been towards establishing that commission? Because we have seen what the Jani Commission alone have revealed about what Jami has done in this country, what establishing an anti-corruption commission. I want to ask how far is the administration towards that regard? And the other question is the NDP. This was something that was so dear to the president, most especially the donor conference in Brussels. When he came back, he was so proud of that trip, and of course many Gambians were expecting a defining year, because he promised that, especially when he was launching the route in Passy. He said 2019 is going to be a defining year for the Gambia. But we have seen recently the head of the strategic policy at the State House, Nyangado, talking about the difficulties the NDP is facing in terms of course, due to the fact that the country had accumulated a lot of debts over the past years, and that is affecting the current administration from accessing the loans, like which were about 800 million out of the 1.7 billion that was reportedly pledged by the European donors. Is the president not beginning to worry about the fact that he might unfortunately fail in his dream of 2019 being a defining year for the Gambia?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think you have answered yourself in the process with your last question about the NDP, which I will start with. I think you have answered the question. When Mr. Nyangado spoke about the issue of the NDP in terms of loans, all the grants I have been informed that they have received the grants, but the loans, they were on conditions. And those conditions, as you said, the issue of our indebtedness in terms of loans and whatever has been so huge that it's difficult. Even the recovery that are being done right now is difficult because 60% of our recoveries we are getting are going back to paying the debts we owe. So you can see the challenges. So these are big challenges and they are real challenges, and we cannot argue against them. But then what is important is what can we do as a nation right now? And I think we are proud that apart from having the, you're talking about the Jani Commission and anti-corruption, I think the anti-corruption commission is still on because the last time I checked, I was informed that the Ministry of Justice is working on it, and they are the one who the president is waiting on to ensure that it happens. So they are the legal advisors to the president. So it is on, and I don't think it will be cancelled in any way or form, because it's something that is very real and important for the development of this country, and the president takes that seriously. In terms of whether he will be able to fulfill the dreams, depends on how well we perform as a country. Because remember that institutions are run by people. And if people take their responsibilities seriously, with effectiveness and efficiency, then we'll be able to move faster as a country. Yes, the president has to take the blame because he's the head of the country, but it is the responsibility of each and every institution that is in the Gambia that has a stake in the National Development Plan to make sure that you do your quota as expected. Because you are doing it not for the president to succeed or not succeed, you are doing it for the Gambia. And the Gambia is bigger than all of us. So it is important that I seize this opportunity to call on everybody, whoever has a responsibility or has been given a responsibility, to ensure that you work towards that responsibility with diligence and to ensure that we fulfill the dream we have for the Gambia. Our dream for the Gambia is bigger than the dream of the president for the Gambia, because each and every one of us, including the president, will be affected, whether it's positive or negative. Thank you.
All right. I have a question. It's about the 3 years journey. It's making rounds on social media. You've seen they had a rally in Brickham not long ago, and many people are worried about their movement because December is a high peak in the Gambia where the people in the diaspora come to visit their families in the Gambia. Likewise, other tourists come to the Gambia to enjoy themselves. Is the president worried about this movement 3 years journey? Will they be given permit? Because they said with or without permit, they'll still take to the streets. And if they do without permit, we know what it will accommodate. It will accommodate people that have other agendas. And Gambians are really worried come December whether is the president worried about this movement, and will he really give them permit so people will be free to do whatever they want to do or come to the Gambia?
You're taking us back to the old days when the president will just sit in his office and say, do this, and it happens. The Gambia, we agreed that we are moving forward to establish rules and regulations to have a country where we respect procedures and processes in achieving the right thing for the country. Those who want to go out in December in protest for whatever reason they have, Why are they doing it? Because they believe they have the right. The other thing is their right also goes with responsibility. Because when you were told in the Constitution that you have the right to assemble anywhere, you also have to go through procedures. And those procedures, you have to contact the Inspector General of Police so that their office will look into your request and process it and actually come to a decision. Whichever decision they come up with, it's up to you to now say whether you are in favor of it or not and follow the steps to get you to where you want. I think it will be irresponsible from my part to just say, let people come out the way they want. Yes, everybody has a right. As a human rights activist, I know that more than any of these people who are talking about it. But what I'm saying is every right comes with responsibility. And we as Gambians should start taking our responsibilities as serious as we are taking our rights so that we can move the country. The way I see the Gambia right now about these debates is everybody is trying to negotiate space. Space in how do we manage democracy? How do we see ourselves after 22 years of gagging? How do we move on and negotiate the space after 22 years of hindering our movements and the public space for us? So it is a negotiating space. But also it is an important time in our history where the government and the civilians will be continuing to negotiate the space in a way that will be within the rule of law. If we all go through that process of recognizing our rights and responsibilities within the rule of law, the likelihood for us to succeed as a nation is very high. So it's not about what the president thinks or not think right now. As a nation, what do we want for ourselves? We want a country where citizens can express themselves in terms of whether it's what they want to say, what they want to do. What is important is, are we doing it within the realms of the law? The law should be the guiding principle for all of us. Because if the president does something today that is outside the law, we will be the first one to jump on him to say, oh, this is against the law. So why is it then as citizens we want to do things against the law? We should not do that. My advice is, whoever and whatever group you belong to, what is important is what you want to do, whether you want to demonstrate or protest or whatever, please go to the right institutions, sit down and discuss with them, so that your rights will be protected as much as the security and development of this country, as much as we give it focus. I think that is very important from my perspective.
Okay,
what's the time now?
Just a few questions.
12. Okay. Okay, just give me one.
What is the president's strongest position right now towards the 3 years mandate campaign? And also, does he have any intention to run for office in the 2021 election?
The president's position is that as a nation we must discuss. As a nation we must dialogue. As a nation we must respect each other's view in a context that we discuss to move forward. We don't discuss to regress. Because all we want is for the Gambia to be better than what we have. So in doing that, his perspective from the discussions and his utterance is, let us have dialogue. He said many times that there can never, never be peace without dialogue, because all the wars we have seen, people ended up sitting on the table to discuss. So dialogue is key in what we do, and I think you can see that the trends are there. Groups are discussing at different levels. All that is to consult and engage as people of this country. How do we engage to move our country forward? How do we move the Gambia to be a better Gambia? And to understand that we can have political differences. That is natural, and it is just as part of a human being. You can be in any party you want. That is not the issue. The issue is, how do we debate our differences and point of views on issues with respect, dignity? How do we do that as a people? That is the most important thing. Whether the president will form his party, and I think I answered this question before, if he decides to do so, he will come to the public and tell them.
Yes.
Can we take 1, 2, and then we close it? 3. Okay, that will be the last 3, please.
Okay, in 2017, a native of Kanela Harujar was reportedly been shot dead by economic, and the government vowed to conduct investigation with regard to assassin the cause of his death. When is this investigation report going to be out? The police says they have conducted an investigation and sent the file to the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice says they did not receive any file.
So,
when is this file going to be out?
So if it is not reached our office, I cannot discuss it. What happens in between, I think you'll have to follow up with the Ministry of Justice and the police to tell you more about that. Yes, Omar.
I just want to ask a question. Of course, buying your idea that this is a new Gambia, and we should not expect the president to put his mouth almost in everything or do things as they were being done under the former President Jammeh. When it comes to the issues of the diplomatic pass, we know investigations are going on, yes, but these investigations, the difficult part of it could be those who obtain it illegally, those who obtain it without going through the presidency.
Yes.
That's the main issue.
We know that. But people like the Barrow youth movement, we know these people, they crisscross the State House most of the time. I found them here, not once, not two. They come here, and there is high likelihood that, of course, the president was aware that they obtained this diplomatic pass. And as the lady said, the descriptions in their diplomatic pass shows that they are business executives. What stops the presidency from coming out when the people were making the noise about these people to explain why they were given this pass and the reasons behind it? We understand the minister, of course, explained all what happened when it comes to the passports that were given to his family. And he explained that he went through the right channels. And of course, we understand the law gives the president the power to give it to anyone he feels like to. But again, coming back to what you just have said, is he going to do it as maybe Jammeh was doing things anyhow he feels like, without considering the general interest of the Gambian people, the general interest of the document that he's given out to people who are just ordinary citizens like me, who almost have no, they are not representing the Gambia at any level. This is a youth movement that is only, of course, working under his interest. There is no doubt about it.
So the interest of the president is not the interest of the country, not necessarily. But are they Gambians? I'm not coming to justify anything here. I'm just saying that the discretion to give these passports at the point in time is with the president at when it was given. The ones that are under investigation, I do not know the details, and I don't want to do any assumption about it. What I would advise is wait for the results of the findings. Whatever they come out with, and we have a responsibility to share it, then we will share it. That's all I can say right now. And will I take the final one?
All right. My name is Fatih Sambar, like I said earlier. My question is the president not worried about seeing information leaking all the time on social media? All the time we have been seeing documents that are not in the public, but then people see it on social media. I'm not aware of that. Is he worried?
It's not about what the president is worried about or not. As an official who has been employed to serve the country, you have a responsibility. If you negate that responsibility, thinking that you can take information out in the public in the wrong way, then whose responsibility is that? It is you, the officer, who have done that. And I think it is our collective responsibility to ensure that when we look at things and we feel that, I think right now, no officer can complain that they don't have the opportunity to discuss issues that can come out in the public, because we are always available to discuss issues and bring them out the right way so that people know what is going on. If there are questions we cannot answer at that point in time, we will always say it. There's nothing to say, I don't know. But if we can find out and get the information, we will share it. So the idea of publicly embarrassing people, For me, it's really a difficult situation for me because I don't think a matured person who has been given the responsibility to take care of a service to the nation should act irresponsibly. So it's difficult to know who does these things, but what is important is whoever does it should bear in mind that you have a responsibility. Today, you may not be in a position of authority and you think you can do that to embarrass authority. Remember, tomorrow you may be in a position of authority, whether you would like people to do that to you. We have to be very responsible the way we act, not to just be, have some form of hatred for a person and say, I'm going to embarrass you. No. I think what is important is for us to be able to accommodate. As Gambians, we should be able to accommodate differences. We should be, in terms of our opinions, in terms of what we do. If we have a very strong position, discuss it with the people who are responsible and then address them. And this has been happening, and we are doing that almost on a daily basis to make sure that if issues come up, we sit down, discuss it, and then say, this is what are the facts about it. We bring them out so that the public will know what is going on. For me, that is what I have to say. It's not whether the president is worried or not worried. What is important is each and every Gambian in a position of responsibility should take that responsibility with seriousness, with dedication, with steadfastness to ensure that we are doing the right thing for the country, and the country is for all of us. Thank you very much. This is where I have to stop right now. Because I have to go now.
Sorry, just a final question. You can just an update. Sometime a few months at the start of the year, there was this windstorm that affected so many families in the Sierra and the Luara. And during the last first briefing, I told us that government has, embarked on fundraising towards over $20 million to help those families. How far have you gone in the efforts to raise funds to support these families?
Okay, I've not gotten an update on that. And I will, at this point, maybe refer you, if you want to have a quick response, to the National Disaster Management Agency, because they'll be right now in a better position for us to answer that, because we answer questions that have reached our office and we have updates on them. That's when we can respond to them. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.